Good evening. I am following up on the video that I submitted on Wednesday. I waited for the police for 4 hours. So by 12:30 Thursday morning, they arrived and took my police report. They did a welfare check. At that time, everyone was asleep, and they woke Mark up and he came to the door. They asked how the girls were, and because they were sleeping, Mark said they were fine, but they were sleeping, so they took his word for it. They asked if they could take the girls and bring them back to me, and of course, nice to shocker, Mark said no. He also said that he would let me know when I could see them, randomly. So I was left with that experience, still without my children. Don't know when I'll see them. I don't know when they'll come back. I've spent the past 2 days contacting, calling, utilizing resources that I have and resources of resources. At this point, I have contacted my domestic violence advocacy group. I have contacted my advocate, the legal department of the advocacy group. I've contacted the protection order office in the courthouse. I've contacted the King County Sheriff's Department. They have a division called Child Find, which helps in these scenarios. I filed a report with CPS, and I also contacted Northwest Justice Project that helped me initially with the original domestic violence investigation, as well as the final parenting plan. At this point, I'm still pretty much floundering, trying to figure out what to do. It has been mentioned several times that I could fill out a writ of habeas corpus and file that with the courthouse. That's an immediate action where they would take a King County Sheriff's deputy, would go to Mark's house, remove the children from his custody, but unfortunately the children would go into foster care because they need to see who's telling the truth. And then we would go back to court and they would stay in foster care until that happened. So that's not an option for me. No matter how much I want them to be home with me, I will not put them in that kind of emotional exposure to a traumatic situation that they do not need to have. And Mark knows that. I'm going to put my children first. So he still has them, clearly. There's been no communication from him. At this point, I am left with the only option to file a contempt charge or contempt paperwork, an order for contempt, and take that to court, which again takes several weeks. It's not a real exciting prospect because again, I still don't know when I will get the children and when I will have them back. And unfortunately, despite the fact that the courts have been good to me as a domestic violence victim, it is still a man's world, that very little will happen to him. He will get a slap in the wrist, and chances are they won't even order contempt against him for doing something like this, which is so clearly intentional, and I have emails to prove that what he does is intentional. So it's very disappointing as a victim of domestic violence to have to be in this position where I am constantly having to turn my wheels to protect myself and to protect my children. And just because I have a piece of paper that says that I am protected and that I am safe, I am still exposed to his abuse on a regular basis. And there may be periods of time where I don't experience his abuse at all. But then there are periods of time like now where he is not only going to keep the kids, he's threatened to keep them for school. He's threatened to keep them and do remote learning with them, which is totally off base. He doesn't even have that right. So domestic violence, and I've talked about this before, spills out beyond the house, beyond the court order, beyond the protection order. He's going to continue to do this. I don't know why. I don't know the behavioral science behind it. They're still trying to decide whether it's learned or whether, it's ingrained. But it is who he is. And I will continue to have him manipulate me. I will continue to have him control me, just as he does with our 2 children, who are very fearful of him. They won't talk about him. They hop to when he drives up for the exchanges. They jump out of the car, not because they're excited to see him, but because they're afraid of what he will do if they're even late. But when he arrives at the exchange points, the kids stay in the car for 5 to 10 minutes because he exerts his control to show me that he controls what happens and when I can see them, which is what he's doing right now. So I'm very angry right now, and I'm very frustrated right now because I've done everything by the book. I've done everything right. And as a victim, I'm the one that has to toe the line. I'm the one that has to always take the high road. No matter what he does, I always have to follow the law, and I don't have a problem with that. I just wish that there was accountability for him. I wish that I could count on the system to truly protect me, because it's not just that court order. To protect a victim of domestic violence, there has to be action behind that court order. And as many times as he has violated that, and every single time the police don't do anything, or the prosecuting attorney doesn't do anything, it's asinine. So again, here I am going into the weekend. I have no idea where I feel just scattered because my children are somewhere. And anyone who's a parent can understand, if you don't know where your children are, there's not a lot of rest and respite emotionally for you. And that's where I am right now, is trying to find that place where I can try and cope with this. But I also want to say thank you, before I forget, to all of those that have emailed, that have texted, that have called, that have supported, that have offered their strength, have offered their love and their caring and their prayers. It means a lot to me. And I don't want you to think that even if I don't have a chance to respond to all of you, your support is amazing, and it keeps me strong. So there we are. No good news, but I will keep you posted. So thank you so much for everything that you have done. Thank you for watching this. Again, if you know of anybody in a domestic violence situation, please just support, just as you've been doing with me. All right, thank you so much. Bye.